This conference will now be recorded.
Oh, good. Okay.
We never said it would be that downstream, I don't remember that.
No. But if they had the methadone, it had to be licensed.
We were told there was no medication being, no.
Oh, Mr. Steele.
Mr. Steele, we were
Yes.
told that there was not at that time. Mr. Callahan, has that changed?
I need to hear the question.
Could you repeat, we're having trouble hearing that question. Could you repeat that, please?
He wants to know if any methadone is administered.
No drugs are administered.
So that has not changed.
That has not changed.
Okay, thank you. And then also I had a question relating to the cameras, and that was, number one, how long does the recording go for should the records need to be pulled? Is it 24 hours? Is it 30 days? Is it a year? How long do the records go back?
30 days.
30 days. And should the police require them, would they be rendered to the police?
The police can request them under investigative purposes if they choose, and they'll be provided if the request is appropriate.
Define appropriate.
It's a case-by-case basis, and I'm not gonna guess at it, but if the police are actively involved in the investigation, they have their ways to get a hold of video and other evidence.
Okay.
Yeah, that was.
My other question is related to the board. If both abutters to the property are here and both abutters do not wish the facility to expand, how would that affect the decision of the board?
I look at whether they met their conditions that we have set down for them or not.
So abutters, in your opinion, do not apply. Is that what I'm hearing?
I feel that the abutters' opinions definitely carry weight. And we have checklists that we have to use as to if it's a legal and appropriate use of the property. But the abutters' opinions do carry weight in the decision.
Okay, thank
And
you.
I agree with that. We would not have required or been concerned about cameras if we didn't care about the abutters. We would not have been concerned about background checks if we hadn't listened to and cared about the abutters. We would not have required some security features had we not cared about the abutters. If we hadn't cared about the abutters, we would have probably allowed them to open up a medical facility. That was not even a question. We would not even look at that, and that was one of the conditions originally. So we care about the abutters at all times. Just as I am assuming that, for instance, at a hospital would care about their abutters and would take precautions. That's why we requested that the precautions we have be taken. And they have met those.
May I speak, Madam Chair?
Yes.
And at the same time, too, they have a legal right for their business, too. I mean, they met their grandfathered in from before. They still have a legal right to exist. I mean, even at that point, I mean.
Yeah, while I agree with the sentiment, I don't have any problems necessarily with a 9-bed facility. I have a problem with a 30-bed facility. So I think if you live next to them too, Fred, you would probably be concerned going, to that size too. I can't tell if you're shaking your head as a no or shaking your head as a
Oh
yes.
yeah, no, I wouldn't. If it was me and they wanted to grow the business, I'm naturally a business person, so I'm all for business thriving and generating profit, and for that type of setting. But I'm biased in that sense. That's why there's a board. But yeah,
I have no further questions.
All right, any comments from the planning board? John?
I don't think we've quite finished with the public yet, have we?
No, Mr. Mead?
Yeah, I have also a couple of questions and comments. The first question would be a technical question. Do the conditions that were applied to the approval of 2017 carry on to the subsequent site plan that you're considering now?
Yes, all
Yes,
the
they
conditions
do.
had to meet before.
They have to meet continue to meet all of those. Those conditions will continue as long as they're in business.
All right. So related to those conditions, I would request that the board alter the background check condition slightly. And that is, in addition to what you have there, I would request that the owners and operators of the business submit an affidavit that that condition is being met and provide that affidavit to the land use enforcement officer so the public can have access to it, not the background checks, simply an affidavit that they have been performed and are on file.
That's
Did I hear a yes?
that has been done. We received a report from the local police department. The police are monitoring that.
Well, they were not monitoring
And
it.
they've agreed to,
Say again?
and the police have agreed to continue to do that.
So that an inquiry of the police on an occasional basis would assure the public that in fact that condition was continually being met, correct?
Correct, and you're free to do that.
Okay. The second condition had to do with the site plan review that's in fact happening now because of the expansion of use, as noted by the land use office. I would request that to be absolutely explicit. There was some debate as to whether or not an increase in the number of beds without an increase in the footprint of the building did not constitute an expansion of use. I would request that you add a sentence or a part of a sentence to that condition that said an increase in the number of beds will require a planning board review.
Over the 30,
Over the current 30, or the current request, so that going forward, any further increase in the number of beds would require planning board review.
that's not unreasonable.
I agree.
This would simply clarify the language that already exists.
The police doing those quarterly, or I think there's something we can add, does the same new traffic within as often as
He'll be on his office we have.
Richard Mann was,
Yeah.
I asked him on Friday. was
And when,
Monday.
whoever the new chief is, we'll make sure that we follow up.
One of the sergeants did,
Yeah.
it was pretty seamless.
Yeah.
That was done in a day, so.
You guys, the rest of the board, sorry, John, I'm chatting over you. Do you think that the check-in with the police department is good annually, or should we do it quarterly? Try
I think quarterly.
necessarily more often than in.
I think quarterly.
On
Quarterly.
your- on
You know,
your-
they could check.
on your, it says upon request, so I guess you can.
Oh, okay.
So I think if we say quarter,
Yeah, we'll put it in our notes so
yes,
that
they
it's
do it
there.
quarterly. Okay, Leanne? And I have no problem, I don't know how about the other plans, the rest of the planning board, putting a condition that if it should go over 30 beds, it requires a review by the planning board. You have a problem with that? I think
No,
that's
I
it.
agree with that. That's fair.
Did you say
Absolutely.
over 30
No, I
patients or over 30 calls?
No, no, we're talking about the number of beds, which I think, Mr. Mead, you mentioned.
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
We think it's reasonable, that should that happen, that it will have to come back to the planning board for a review.
The board's aware that condition 12 on the approval of 2017 is any change of use or expansion requires site plan approval, which is what we're doing tonight. It's already
Yes, correct.
condition.
I would like this language put in there because there was some debate as to whether or not the increase in beds without an increase in footprint was in fact an expansion of use. So I would like it to be crystal clear in the condition that an increase in the number of beds from whatever you approve tonight will require a planning board review.
I think what was just mentioned is that any change will require a site plan review.
Including,
I have no problem being more specific by saying anything over the number approved tonight will require a site plan review. We can be more specific. I have no problem with that. Does anybody else on the planning board?
I don't think more verbiage.
I agree with that, Jane.
Thank you. Anything else, Mr. Mead?
yep. At the last meeting, there was a brief discussion of whether or not this facility now constituted a public or needed a public water supply. So the question is,
Yes,
A, does it? And
we just said earlier, they have a well. Once you get with the state regulation, once you get over 25 people on the well, it has to be inspected by the state regularly. So we can put that in as a condition because that's a necessity per state law.
okay, thank you. A clarification of a discussion that happened during Mr. Seal's questions. The assertion was made that the facility does not currently require a state license. And someone made that assertion, and I don't know who that someone was. I'd like to know who is in the position to either advise the board or is on the board who asserted that it did not need a state license today.
I looked up adult care facility today online, and there is no regulation for an adult care facility if they're not doing medical procedures.
And I'm not, I don't necessarily recognize who's speaking. Who is it?
All right, Judy Tilton.
Okay.
And we can absolutely ask our attorney for clarification on that and have him recheck it. You know,
Yeah,
certainly-
I would request that. And finally, a question for the board. And again, this seems to be falling into some sort of no man's land. I can't believe there is another facility in the town of Tilton in which you potentially have 30 people living in a single dwelling that is unsupervised by the town. That is, so my question is the Tilton health officer have a role in the oversight of this facility from the town's standpoint? Given that this is the treatment of people with health issues?
I believe, I don't want to speak for Ms. Dawson, but I believe it would fall into the same category as any other health issue in town with regard to complaints or concerns as she does with hotels and other commercial and residential dwellings in the town. I would think it'd be no more, no less.
Well, I guess I would just put it to the planning board as representing the town of Tilton in an official capacity, that a 30-bed drug rehab center is not the same thing as a 7-Eleven. So I have no, no, okay, that's it for my questions.
One thing of note from my perspective is I would like the record to reflect in the notes that both myself, John Steele, and Thomas Mead, as the abutters, the direct abutters to the property, firmly disagree with the approval or any approval of the facility going from 9 to 30 beds. Do you agree, Thomas?
Yes, absolutely. This is where we started the last meeting. Just as a note, in terms of the board's weighing of the abutters' rights and interests, the town, the planning board also, I would think, would take into account the town vote that altered the zoning amendments, the zoning ordinance, to reflect a general wish not to, for this kind of facility to operate and hence by implication expand in the rural agricultural zone. But that was, anyway. So yes, thank you, John.
Mm-hmm. And I think, Scott, also you are a direct neighbor of us as well. Could you weigh in on your opinion?
Well, I have before, and I'll say it again. I am against the expansion of this because it is non-conforming. One of the board members had said earlier that certain things were not of concern of hers, but the concern she was most focused on is that he's conforming. And I'm here to say that my wife goes to work every morning at 3 o'clock in the morning, and there is very seldom any vehicles at that property. As a matter of fact, during the day, there is very seldom any vehicles at that property. Now, one of two things is happening. Either there are no patients there, or they are indeed not there doing what they say they're doing. So I'm not privy to the number of and when patients are there. So I was just wondering how the board might feel about that non-conformance, because clearly there is no one there watching the patients. Also, I would like the board to know, if you don't already know, that prior to opening this 9-bed facility, there were testimonials on Recovery Mountain's website of people who have been rehabilitated at this facility prior to them opening. Now, I don't know what the legal ramifications of that are, but I do know that it is not only deceitful, but it's dishonest. And now this board is being asked to consider his expansion. And we know from last week's meeting, and if anybody did any homework, that Bob has listed a 30-bed facility for sale for $6 million that's been approved for 30 beds. Well, we all know that that hasn't happened yet. So that too, I don't know what the legal ramifications are, but I do know that that is deceitful and dishonest. So as this board considers all the things that Bob is bringing forth to you, keep in mind that he has been not straight with the people in our community. And I firmly believe that taking this facility from a 9-bed to a 30 facility is far-reaching normal expansion. This is almost 3.5 times the non-conformance. So Mr. Steele is right. You do have the power. As it was stated in the meeting back on the 17th, an expansion must go through the planning board. So you members of the planning board, you have complete power right now to do the right thing. And that is to not allow this in an RA, which is a non-conforming use now. That's all I have to say.
Just to follow up on Scott's comments, I would like to note on September 26, 2017, it does state any future change, use, or expansion of use shall require site plan approval from the Tilton Planning Board. So I just like to state that, very clearly, the planning board has the clear and unwavering decision-making ability, and based on the abutters and also neighbors' commentary here, should deny the plan to expand the facility, as we are the ones living directly next to said facility. And with that, that's all the commentary that I have.
Thank you. Any other members of the public wish to address this? All right, I'm going to close interaction with the public. Come back to the planning board. Planning board, have any comments? Good. Fred, do you want to weigh in?
I weighed in earlier already. I have nothing else to add.
John?
No, so our decision's based on laws, zoning laws, RSAs,
All right, to be
and
correct.
legal opinion.
Correct.
So it's,
With
we are
condition.
bound to that
Yes.
to interpret the law, and the opinions are before us.
Judy? Okay. I have the following conditions, if anybody wants to make any additions or changes. We need a revised floor plan showing the location of cameras. We need a picture on the application form. Proof of easement and use of the pond.
But we don't know.
A review by the planning board of any additions over the 30 bed, and state inspection as required for the water supply. Any others?
Quarterly review of the background checks.
Quarterly review of background checks.
Not a range.
Certificate of occupancy.
Needs a signature. That's fine.
So we need a new,
Oh, yes, a new CO.
they need public sewer.
Yeah.
Nothing else with one state for the record.
Yep. But that's in the works.
Right, that's
But it's
definitely a
be
requirement. They cannot
Yeah.
have 30 beds.
Oh, correct, correct.
You gotta check the background. Yeah, check the steel for the facility.
He's saying that they want opinion from the
Oh,
You want to put our attorney on verified status on license. I mean, I don't think that was wrong. I think that's, and I don't, transfer of property is, you can't,
No,
we have all kinds of property.
no, that's not something that we
10 of them that are
can
non-conforming.
say anything about. All right.
However, I mean, and maybe the only way they could not continue it is if they abandon the use. from the-
Correct. And that's nothing.
That's all not-
Yeah, that's all. Okay. Anything else?
Yeah, if you want, I don't know if anybody heard any of those conditions, because it was just a discussion, so
They should stay in the.
Okay.
I forget where you left off on that.
No, I bet,
You want me to read what I have?
Yes, read what you have.
Notice?
Okay.
I know it's gonna be a little different road than you have, but.
well, I have so many.
I know, so background checks will be confirmed for compliance on a quarterly basis by the Tilton Police Department. Any further increase or expansion of beds will require review by the planning board. Cameras that have been added to the site plan and a floor plan will be provided. A site plan showing the cameras added to the floor plan and site plan will be provided. A signed application will be provided. A signed checklist as part of the application will be provided. Well inspections will be done annually. Certificate of occupancy is required prior to operation of an expansion. If licenses are available from the state, they have to be provided. Is that what you want? You want us to confirm that?
We want legal confirmation that no license exists.
Legal confirmation and no license.
Yes.
All is necessary.
They must provide public sewer through approval from the sewer commission. And they must provide proof of an easement for use of the pond for their suppression system.
Back on the water supply, you said water supply inspected.
The wells.
Yeah, annually.
Annually.
Could you change that to per state regulations?
Okay.
Because I don't know if it's an
Okay.
annual or quarterly. I don't know how often they do it, so.
Anything else?
I'm just looking on the previous conditions, if there was anything.
The previous one still stands, right?
Correct.
Right, a lot of them are finding works they've either been done or this supersedes like the background check has been changed. Certificate of occupancy. Their lot line adjustment is done, their snow storage is done. Yeah, I think that's everything. In the new CEO.
Just to add, one of the things that kept coming up was the lack of cars in the parking lot. And from the very beginning, we were told that residents would not be permitted to bring their cars with them, that they would be let off so that those parking spaces would not be used by any of the residents in the facility. And I assume that continues. Is that correct, Mr. Callahan?
Yeah.
So we discourage folks from bringing vehicles because they come to us from detox. We go and retrieve them from the detox center, but that does not say that they can't bring their car. Some people are detox on their own with their family members elsewhere, and the family brings them, but they don't use their vehicles while they are with us. And our employees are typically either dropped off by their spouse or they park underneath our building. So you often don't see vehicles on our facility lot at all.
I think there's sufficient parking.
There is sufficient parking. Anything else? And so I'd like to make a motion to approve it with the conditions just read by Leanne.
Do you want to say as well as any existing conditions that apply from the previous?
Yes.
Because one of the conditions was that no other business can operate there because they had the indoor facility, and I assume you want to continue that. So again, for
All of it.
clarification,
Yes.
all applicable conditions of the 2017 approval will apply.
There a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the planning board case with the conditions that were mentioned, as well as all previous existing conditions. Asana.
Wait. Is a second?
I'll second that. Scanlon.
All in favor? All then yes?
Asana, yes.
Tilton, no.
Scanlon, yes.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Next is site plan review for, these are conceptual.
Yeah, this is just, you can come on up. This is Gary Anderson. He just wanted to talk to the board. He's looking to purchase a property on Laconia Road, and he just wanted to talk to the board. So told him to come under other business. So you come on.
Thank you so much. Would you prefer that I stay here just for social
You can
distancing?
sit over here.
Stay wherever you want.
Oh, it's,
We'll put this next.
I got you.
You can have it.
What else?
Whatever you want to do. You do have to speak into it.
Okay.
To speak into it.
Okay, perfect. I'll just sit down. That might be easier. So again, my name is Gary Anderson. I'm here with my brother, Ethan Anderson. He's from Anderson Auto. So this is my brother, Ethan. He has a car dealership right on Route 3 currently. He is just a tenant now, but he has that building under contract. I've also got the property next door under contract as well. He'll likely be buying it. So for now, I'm kind of assisting him because he's new to the site plan and all this stuff. I've been on the board, so I'm just going to try to at least get him started with you guys so everyone's on the same page. This one, actually, most of the work seems to have already been done in the past. At one time, both these lots were owned. It looks like.
Can you tell me where these
Oh,
are?
sorry, yeah, so Anderson Auto is right heading towards the golf course at
It's the
Lockmere.
old, tell them it's the old GPO.
Oh, it's an old Jaguar Auto. It looks like they spent plenty of time in front of A board. I'm not sure if you guys were on that one or not. So
Yeah.
there is a lot of documents to comb through. The lot next door that I have under contract, it'll probably just go to him. At one time, we were gonna buy them together, but it looks like he may be able to get the financing without my help. So that's the only reason I had it under contract. It's essentially him that would be buying.
And they're looking at the barbecue pit.
Yeah, lot next door is the Lone Star Barbecue, sorry. So they're conjoined. There's a site plan that I referenced. I don't know if you guys got a paper copy of it or not.
I didn't
No, we didn't get anything. We just said you were going to be here for a
Oh,
second.
okay, I included a picture of so that might have, it would probably help you a little bit to see it. I can grab it out of the file if you want, but.
Pretty familiar with it, yeah.
Okay, yeah, there is an approved plan that includes both lots. However, the lot that is now Lone Star, or was previously Lone Star, it is a separate lot of record. They both have a variance for a car dealership. The site plan includes both lots and includes a parking plan for both. However, there is an argument that half of that site plan, if you can cut it in half, was abandoned, because, kind of in reference to the argument that guy was just making, in a sense. I'm not arguing for him because it would make us a bunch more work, but I think it's valid to bring up. We don't want to buy the lot and just park a bunch of cars there, even though the site plan says we can, without talking to you guys first. So I understand you haven't seen the file and you can't actually make a decision here, but we were curious on your input or thoughts on whether or not that site plan is valid or not.
It's old enough, you'd have to re-site plan.
Yeah.
But my only top of my head thing would be make sure to get hold of DOT
Oh,
about,
I've spoken with them.
no, I'm kidding.
Yeah, spoke with, can't think of his name, District 3, Mike Kimball.
Okay.
There are 2 driveway permits state approved for each lot.
Perfect.
So yeah, we
Good
did
start.
speak with them, and it is, just to clarify, it is an approved site plan that is being used currently. So although it was approved a ways back, it was approved for Caravona. That use and that site plan, from what I can read, is in effect, but they stopped using part of it. They didn't park the cars in that area, and then you guys approved it to be Lone Star by the look of it. So
No, they never got approved.
well,
That just happened.
I think it's time to withdrawn plan, so I'm not,
That never came through.
Yeah, you would have to do an amended site plan, a new site plan for the new business, once you own the property. Once you purchase the property and.
okay, so.
Or approval from the owner. Or both
Yeah,
owners
because we
get-
have approval, or I have approval from both owners to, represent the properties now. So perhaps I can just submit the existing site plan.
If you're not gonna make any changes at all,
One of the things about that site is it is surrounded by wetlands.
Yes,
So you can't like push snow into the wetlands. You can't fill it anymore. You can't have water running off from the parking lot into it. So you want to be real careful of that type of thing.
yep, yeah, so they did reference all of those items on the approved plan.
Well, I remember when Jaguars came in, because I forget the name of the dealership before then. It was,
Caravana.
Oh, Carabon was,
There was a winner's circle.
Win-
There might have
no,
been a couple
it was,
fly-by-night
it was
operations.
connected with Winter Circle, but that wasn't the name of it.
Okay.
But it was the man who lived in the little house there.
Okay.
Okay, so,
Is
Okay.
Jeff Isabel?
yes. So get those things together and come in for a
Okay, but it's of your purview that he's operating on an approved site plan currently, but you're not accepting the legitimacy of the other half, if I just got that correct.
He's only operating the existing business that I understand. He's not operating on the barbecue pit. Or bar,
Side.
whatever you call it, right?
So, yeah, when Caravona got their interviews for a car dealership, and then they got an approved site plan for a car dealership, it's in my opinion, he's operating off that site plan, because he is an approved car dealer, and they started their car dealership based on that approved site plan.
But not on that separate
but
site.
not on the separate, no.
So that's, I just want to clarify,
Yeah.
you are agreeing that that use is abandoned specific to that lot. So
Yes.
there is currently a variance in place on that lot. But you would not accept the existing site plan beyond the lot line.
Correct.
Okay, that's just what I want to clarify,
Right.
make sure we're on the same page.
Right. He can continue to exist as GPS did. But to go on to the next lot is to a site plan. And we'll just verify the date of that variance again and whether that still is valid, because it never was executed, right, in our,
Um,
on that property, the site. Barbecue.
Well, Caravona did own it. I think he did actually park cars there and used it. And I'm wondering if you're considering that just an abandoned part of it. I mean, it was approved. I can look to see if there's pictures of vehicles on that lot.
That would be great.
But it's my again, it's definitely been over a year. So I'm basically asking it is.
More than a year since.
I'm gonna say it's
Yeah,
been a lot
over a
longer.
year is the-
No, that's my point. I think we can all agree that it hasn't been that use on that lot.
Correct.
So I'm just looking for a clarification here, but I think it is important to know that they were both owned together and they got an approved plan together. And it's my understanding they were both, after the approval, both lots were used as a car dealership until he then sold the rest of that lot, the connected lot to Hutchinson.
Right, so once you sold that other lot to somebody else, right, which is what you're telling me, then it became a different use, so it doesn't like go back to the use that had a variance. You know what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying, yeah.
You can't pull a variance out again, whenever you want to.
Oh, so you're saying the variance is no
Well,
longer.
if he sold it for a different use and the use that he received the variance for was abandoned, and then he went and did a legally conforming business, you can't just say, well, I'm gonna come back and pull that variance out from before and resume it. You can't, the variance it doesn't just sit there and when you want it, you pull it back.
See, I was under the impression that the variance did sit much unlike an approved use or pre-existing non-conforming, which would go away if it was abandoned.
And I'll have to look at the dates, but I believe you can't just, pick and choose and abandon it and then come back and pick it up again.
You guys can touch base
Yeah,
with them.
Okay.
we'll follow through on that.
Okay, so we've got to confirm whether the variance is actually legit or not at this point.
Now, isn't that approved use now in that area?
Not if it had a different use. So say you had a house in commercial and you sold the house to a business, which was conforming. So now it's business in a business district. You can't say, well, 10 years ago I had a house that had a variance to keep the house. You
No,
can't
what I'm
have the
saying
house-
is-
It's not a permitted use
No.
now. to
Thank you.
answer your
That was,
That's
Not
the problem.
that's what I was
It's
asking.
not permitted.
Thank you.
Was the barbecue place, was that conforming though?
That was not legal.
That
It never
was-
came.
They just drove in one day and set it up.
Okay,
Yeah.
but so it never got switched to a
No.
non-conforming business, right?
No.
Okay.
Okay, so
So it appears the last.
We'll
approved
deal
use
with the
was-
variance. We'll look and make sure the variance.
I think there was a guy who was selling firewood, that was cutting
Yeah.
and selling firewood. There was a limo service
Yeah,
that
yeah,
was
the
there.
limo, Or he tried to get it, I don't know.
There
that
was a financial service that was
Yeah.
there.
Oh, yeah, I think there's been a multitude of
Yeah.
but I've only found the approval for the car dealership.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess we have to find out if the variance be subject to a full site plan review.
Yeah, they're.
I believe it would.
Yeah.
It's up to the board if they want to waive them. I would say.
No, I
yes.
think we need to see it if it's along though, okay?
All right, sounds
Around
good.
wetlands, I think it's probably in the groundwater protection as well. I'll have to look at that, so.
Oh, like aquifer overlay zone kind of thing?
It's a groundwater protection district, which is, I mean, I don't have an application, I haven't reviewed it. but-
Yep.
And you guys can chat.
And one more quick clarification. Am I looking for a site plan review specific to that lot then? Because I do think that he has an approved site plan for his lot.
Correct.
So I'm just cutting off the piece of that and calling what's left his approved site plan.
Yeah.
And then I'm just going in front of you for a site plan for just the lot there.
Are you gonna merge the lots?
No. I mean, unless it behooved us to. Originally, I was looking into that to expand what I thought was a pre-existing non-conforming. I didn't realize they actually obtained the variance for it. I thought it was a dealership, and then that became a not approved use. So I was wondering, hey, maybe if I cut that, get rid of that lot line, we can expand. But I think we did research that, and that's not the case. But now after seeing the variance, if that is still intact, I was under the impression that that was essentially a permitted use for that lot moving forward. Of course, a site plan would have to be approved, and that could go away or come back. But I thought the variance did stand with the property. So we'll just confirm that, but just so we know, he's gonna be just a site plan for just that one.
The only, and this is just talking off the top of my head, a benefit of the merge may be, like if you're saying, okay, we're gonna park cars this way and get hold of the fire department because they're gonna want in on that. So we're gonna go through the two lots, so it's gonna be egress this way, in this way, out this way. Well, now if you've encumbered like your travel lanes and stuff with your first lot because of what you're doing with the second lot, I'll tell you, well, more often than not, we'll say, but what if you sell it separately? So just to get that in your head, kind of give that some
I'm
thought.
almost
We ask
wondering
that
that
question a
I
lot.
do get a site plan as if it was separate, because that it is. I'm thinking exactly what you're saying, and I might just approve a second car dealership with the understanding that we can merge the two. Because if there's two car dealerships approved, one could occupy both lots.
That's between you two owners. You
Yeah.
work it out.
Yeah, no, okay.
And you can merge the lots, so.
Or not. If he wants to say, hey, I'm the better Anderson, come to Anderson, hey, I'm going to
I'm the
Anderson
old
B.
one.
Interesting,
They can stand at the
interesting
fence.
marketing.
It's funny, because you do have that, and I have a dealership that starts with B and it starts with A. Mine did get open first, though. So. He worked for me first, too, before Anderson on, just so you know, for the
Just so you
record.
know.
Thank you
Just
so
want
much,
that
guys.
line. Thank you.
I have a couple more quick things that I think
Yes.
is the board. So last Friday, we had an issue come up at a property down on West Main Street, which in dealing with some of the site issues that we're working through, it appeared that there is no actual site plan for part of the business on the property. So I'm talking about KMS Landscaping, KMS, I haven't said the initials right.
KRM.
Thank you. Landscaping, which is also has a business there for repairs of truck repairs. So in 2000 and I believe 17, what happened in 2017? They came before the planning board for approval for the repair business. Okay, so there was already existing landscaping business there, from what I understand. Again, I wasn't here. And through the minutes that I look back on, the owner of that landscape business came to the planning board at the time and said, I have an existing landscaping business. I want to do a truck repair business as well. What do I need? And the board in the minutes said you need to come for a site plan review for that repair business. There is a full site plan approval and review for that truck repair business, which is a separate building in the rear of 600 West Main Street. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist somewhere in the archives, but I didn't find an actual site plan for the landscape business.
I was gonna say, I remember them
I
coming.
remember.
For landscaping?
Yes.
I couldn't find it. Well, if you believe it exists, then that makes it, I mean, I'll continue to dig. I guess we'll have to go down in the basement. I didn't
No,
find
they
it.
definitely did.
The landscape part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, great. So we won't have to have them file. They're willing to come back again for a site plan review for landscaping this if you don't have it on file. But I wanted to see if you felt it was necessary. You have more knowledge of the history
Yeah, I
here.
remember them coming.
So, but one of the issues, if I could find that, so that to continue then, so we're gonna, for the sake of argument, say there is a landscaping plan on file. Must be, I think he said he was there in 2016. Previous to him being there was a paving business, he
Yes.
said.
Water paving.
Yeah, so he took over that. So he did get a building permit to expand the landscaping building in January of 2020, so we've allowed him to do that. So, I mean, it was almost assumed there was some kind of a site plan approval. However, since then, so we had an issue with some drainage that has been corrected. And he has temporary storage facilities on the site, which he does need to go to zoning for. It's not allowed to have temporary storage trailers unless you go to zoning, which he has filed to correct and seek approval. And the third item that we're addressing with the site is because it's a landscaping business, he has salt on the site. And I don't know, that's why I would like to find that landscaping plan, because he's not allowed, it is the groundwater protection district.
On
Groundwater
top of a
resource
brook.
district. The brook is right to the left, but he showed me where the salt was, and it is in a shed. But your ordinance doesn't allow salt in the groundwater protection, unless I guess you could allow him if he had it in a contained, or, again, that would come before you. So I did ask him, he's removing the salt tomorrow. That'll be removed off the site, the temporary is being adjusted zoning and the water. So we're gonna have to address whether next winter he'll be allowed to have salt on the site. I guess you would want him to come back to address that issue if he wants to continue with storing material there. And how does the board, do you remember any of that from the site plan review?
I don't think we discussed
No,
salt.
salt was not an issue to my knowledge. I don't think we discussed that at all.
I mean, you do
I
have salt across the street at the town shed, which is also groundwater protection, but again, I just want to make sure we're all legal and he's legal.
I remember nothing about salt at all.
Because I only learned about proper salt storage when the gentleman up here started. And that was
GTNG, right.
Yeah.
And he was by the river, so we didn't allow him to have salt.
Well, my concern, he's got a shed almost on top of the brook.
The shed in the back,
Yeah.
right, where he keeps the salt, that's why it's being removed. And we're prior to it.
I mean, I went by there after the issue came up. I went by, I think yesterday or the day before, can't remember which day, and it's almost on the brook. It's
Is it
almost
to the
like a
left?
covered bridge.
Yeah, he's getting rid of that shed completely and gonna build a,
So, yeah, you saw us went out there. Now, what did DES say?
about what, the salt?
When it was reported that he was digging up a pipeline, running it into the park?
He wasn't, so
I saw some pictures and
Yeah,
it was said that you called DES.
So he had a water problem with the perimeter drain. He wanted to put in a perimeter drain, so he was having some water collecting around the foundation that was seeping in. So he wanted to put a perimeter drain in, and he had called a couple places. He couldn't get a hold of DS. He was under the impression that he could drain a perimeter drain to the lowest point on your property. And the lowest point was the brook. So they started to put the pipe in. I went out, contacted him, and he told the guys not to put the pipe in. They removed the pipe. He called them back, told them that he was waiting for answers. There was supposedly a misunderstanding with his guy. He put the pipe back in. We went back. I went out there with some other employees to see what they were doing. And he showed us that he was draining to the lowest point, which we thought was fine, so it was groundwater. We called DES. DES told us that you can do perimeter drains, but not to any open water source, which the brook would be, but if you would have to drain to a dry well. So I sent him the information on Monday, and no, on Friday, actually on Friday, and on Saturday he he put a dry well in and moved the pipe. So he removed the pipe that he had put in on Friday and put it to a dry well, and I have pictures of the dry well. So that's been corrected. Unfortunately, yeah, we had all that excavation back and forth, including himself. He said it was shared known correctly. It just saved him a lot of time. But unfortunately, that's what happened with the pipe. And DES was good at getting back, was pretty quick to give us the right answer, because I didn't know what the answer was.
But they're aware that he did put one into the brook or dug a trench to the brook and there was no mitigation or silt fencing installed for where it was dug or anything?
Yeah.
He's got silt fencing in there? No?
There's no, because now it just goes from the perimeter drain to a dry well that's about, I'm gonna say,
No, well,
it's nothing, but it's not near the brook.
okay, the original violation, because I saw a picture and he dug right down to the brook and he filled it back in.
Right,
Has he stabilized that?
it's all packed back in, there's no
But
pipe in there. I don't know if
there's
there's a silt fence.
the requirements to stabilize that so that it would not wash out
Okay.
into the brook and do that. As well as if he did store salt in the wellhead protection area or in the wetlands, and areas it's not, and on top of a brook or right next to it, there could be other issues there.
Right.
So it
That's what I
never
mean.
was reported that there was a violation to DES?
It's the salt, I don't think was a violation, it's a violation of our groundwater protection.
But
I don't think it- I mean,
nothing, no violations were ever actually reported.
DES is aware that they put the pipe into the brook, if that's the question. I'm not sure what the question is. The salt
No,
was
the
just me
question
looking
is
for a
what-
site plan review. And then I know this groundwater protection, so I took the next step to say, well, what are you storing here? He told me he had salt, he was unaware he couldn't have salt. I don't have a site plan to review to see what was approved. That's where that went. That was a separate issue. That was because when I was on the property looking at the pipe, I noticed that he had storage of material for a landscaping business.
It just, the site should be stabilized so that there's
Oh,
no
yeah,
runoff
I can talk about
going to
that.
the brook.
Yeah.
It's requirements, so.
I don't know the DES requirements, so yeah, now that you say that, I will, and
No.
DES didn't mention anything to me about that. I have a letter from them.
Yeah, maybe DES should do a site visit there because there's quite a few things going on there. And,
Is there, what else, is there something
well,
else?
you've salt next
Right,
door.
which I found, right,
Yeah.
right.
And that's under the purview of DES, as well as, the stabilization of the ground around the brook that's been disturbed.
Does DES say no salt? Or is it because it's in the groundwater protection? I guess that's what I'm unclear
There's
about.
strict requirements for salt storage
Okay.
in DES requirements.
Okay. So we don't have to worry about trying to get them back in for a site plan review unless they want to move their storage or do, I don't know where we're at with site.
Did
plan
they
review.
get permission to put that shed up? Right?
I don't know, I don't have a site plan. I only have a site plan for the water repair.
That would be something that they would have come and talked with Al about.
I don't know how long that's been up. I mean, I don't have any information other than what I saw on site
When you
plan.
went out there, you saw the little shed there.
Well, right, but I don't know when it went up.
Shit.
There's
I
also
don't
a
know what we're talking
landscape
about.
office building, and
Yes,
there's also,
If you drive along.
It's the driveway.
Yeah, there's a drive. And there's a book.
Yeah.
The shed is a yellow place.
Oh, that's been there, hasn't it?
I didn't think
Because
so.
there was you got the big
that's traffic, the salt, yeah.
You got the big truck thing in the back.
Yeah, I know where that
Then you
is.
had a thing that was shaped like this,
I don't
that
remember.
they
the
kept
shed.
stores, and then there was a shed there.
Okay, maybe.
Yeah, I had listed that property at
Okay,
one time.
oh, all right. It was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they just, I think they re-sided it and
Oh, okay.
prettied it out,
Okay, that
because it was kind of
it was
gross.
burnt yellow. It's burnt
Yeah.
yellow now.
It used to be like falling down brown.
Okay, all
So
right.
I think
That's-
what
But
they-
that's not where the salt is being stored.
No, I know.
So they constructed a salt shed, and start storing salt, so they'd need, and that wasn't on previous stuff.
I don't have a site
Okay,
plan.
if we should have a site plan, if we don't have one, then
Right. well,
yes,
that's
it
what
is
I'm-
that there isn't one, and that,
Yeah. I mean, I guess
So
I'll
it
look
would be
again. If you
required.
think there was one, I can
Well,
look
Jim
through
and I
it.
were both on the board when they came in
You think it was
It was right after-
2016?
And they were
Porter's
doing
mother
business.
died and she sold the property and they bought the property and they came in and said they bought the property and they were gonna do the landscaping business. They did a full site plan.
Around what time was that?
Oh, God.
Should be in the minutes.
That's what I'm
You
saying.
can do a search on the minutes.
But I don't know
Do you
how
want
long.
tomorrow to look up when the house was sold? And then that gives us
I
some
know
time
about
to.
household, so you think when he bought that, because he lives there?
Yeah,
So
bought
when-
it, Porter's mother
He said it was
died.
16.
So that could be.
I looked at all the planning board records from 2016, but I'll look again. And that's where I found the minutes when he said, I have a landscaping business, I want to do the auto, because the auto was 17. So, I mean, I'll look again, I could have missed it. And if we need to, I think it'd probably be a good idea to come back in and so we know that everything's being
Yeah.
stored and contained and run appropriately. Okay.
Kettle Hill, what about Kettle Hill?
And then Kettlehead, so Kettlehead was, so they're putting in a patio.
Please don't tell me it's to the right-hand side again.
So when I was coming back from KRM, I saw the backhoe there and asked what they were doing, and they said, we're putting in a patio because we have outdoor seating. So because of COVID and all that, which I understand, they were allowed to do outdoor seating last year, but I said, well, that doesn't mean you can just put a patio in. So, yeah, so they're gonna have to come for a site plan, correct?
We already went through that, then it's too close to the line. I think you'll find that in the minutes.
Oh, they came and requested
Yeah,
it?
they
We
came
had
in
a
and
discussion
requested,
on it.
yeah, they came in and requested something on that side, the neighbors all came and,
Right, so they put up a fence. This is when there was a site plan, they put up a fence along that side of the neighbors, and then they put outdoor seating in the front, right? They got a new site plan when they added the seating in the front. So they want to put, yeah, they already dug it up, but I hope they import, I don't stop, they put a patio for seating, because they said this past year, because of COVID, they were allowed to put outdoor seating, and they had people there, and they said people were tripping, and it was in the grass, and it wasn't very nice, and they wanted to do the patio. But that becomes a permanent, and once you, I mean, COVID's one thing, but once you do the patio, it's, I mean, that's permanent, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I told them I was gonna meet with the board tonight, and I would check with you, which I'm doing, and, they can either come again, and they would need a variance anyway for, there's no setback, yeah, they need 20 feet foot setback, right? So I make sure you hadn't come to some agreement prior about seating there or patio.
I don't think he has 20 feet though.
Oh, God, he doesn't even have.
Two.
Yeah.
Maybe 10.
I mean, there might be 20 feet from his building to the fence.
Yeah.
But that's where he's putting
Yeah.
it, is in that setback.
Isn't there already part for it? I thought you already poured part of it before.
I didn't see, I mean, if he did, they dug it up to put a new one, because there was nothing there when I was there. And the selectmen haven't, and trying to speak to that, and the selectmen have not decided whether to extend that outdoor seating either, right? You haven't talked about that yet, right?
I think the state's allowed some stuff case by case.
Well, it's up to the town. Last year, I think the selectmen actually made a decision to allow outdoor seating like downtown on the sidewalk.
Yep.
And, but I don't think
Yeah,
we addressed it in
it
2021.
wasn't just outdoor for everybody. It was specific and because of not blocking the sidewalk and such to maintain the path. So it was in a plan for. And it was just under the COVID thing, until
Right.
things come back to
Right,
somewhat normal.
right. So we don't know what's gonna happen in 2021. Right, yeah. Okay. Well, those were my week.
I have two things.
Okay.
Mexican restaurant next to the head shop
Yeah.
on Route 3.
The Winnie Grill?
No.
Hmm.
Do you know where Awakening Chiropractic is?
You know what headlines is?
Oh, down by
Right after
George
the
Jones
autism
Hill.
center
I
on the
understand
left.
there's plans to put a Mexican restaurant in there. That's never been a restaurant. That was a spa
We don't have anything from them. I have no.
Well, it went before the selectmen for a liquor's license, didn't they?
I thought that was somewhere else. It went for the Mexican restaurant was,
Casamigos?
no, another one.
Something else for you to look into, yay.
Yeah.
We have El Paso that's going into the Winnie.
Yes,
Oh,
Oh, okay.
oh, Eric wants to say something.
Yes, Eric. Eric?
1 minute.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
The Mexican restaurant you're talking about, Jane, is proposed for where the Winnie Grill was once located in the Econo Lodge.
Okay.
And we do have a, yeah, and we do have a building application from him and a sign application.
Oh, okay. All right.
From Marco. It's called El Paso. Yeah, and he's going where the Winnie Grill
Oh,
was.
okay. I thought it was going with the headline.
That's what I thought too.
Okay, all right, so that's that. That was an easy one. Phew, thank you.
White Oak. It's spring. White Oak.
Oh, the
White
white
Rock.
ones.
White Rock. I keep saying White Oak. He's already corrected me twice. White Rock. I even have White Rock written down and said White Oak. It's spring. They need to do something about the planting.
Okay, so we'll send that, and ask them to put some arborvitae's
Yeah.
where? How many and where?
to block.
To block.
Block
White Oak.
Route 3 or?
Well, they don't want to block Route 3. It'd be tough to travel. I'm just saying.
Along Route 3 or
Along
there's
with three.
discussion along these, so I need. we
Along
gotta get it right.
Three is what is so ugly.
So you want them to remove the plants they put there?
Well,
Let's
they're
let-
dead.
There's nothing there.
Okay,
I mean, they're just dead.
okay, so we're gonna ask them to plant arborvitae's and remove the plant. the
Yes.
bushes.
And then not to make a screen. If he looks at, the one up on the corner, Gaslight, how they have their arborvitae, they're pretty close together and they're already filling in and they're already pretty high.
Did you say gas lines?
That's like Village.
Gaslight Village. It's the condo association up from White Rock.
White
Okay.
Oaks.
Oh, I said that twice tonight. I don't know why I keep saying that. And, I had one more. There's a rental building right in front of, it's just before you get to Rite Aid. And they have a sign that advertises for other people.
Oh,
Down by the
Tully Real
shopping
Estate.
center. It's a real estate.
Tully Real Estate.
Yeah.
They just bought the old septic.
And they have a sign there that advertises for other companies. Quite a large sign. Is that permitted within our?
Town line, something.
Yeah, it's in Tilton. I checked that out.
That's the white, as you're looking at Smitty's, it's that white building that sits out front.
Right, but is it a billboard? No, it's a reader board. It's one of those
It's
LED.
LED board.
Yeah.
And it advertises they rent it.
It's off-site advertising.
I-
A billboard is for billboards allowed to. offset.
Yeah, but this,
That's my house. It's a reader.
yeah, a read board. I didn't know that's what it's called. Now I know.
And it does the changing thing that I know is always a pro on everyone's side.
We had talked about that before, John. remember?
Yeah, we made an ordinance on
But I didn't-
off-site
I
advertising.
didn't know that they were charging people for it, but then I found out they were charging, when I investigated, I found out they were charging people for it.
I was gonna say, I did see some signage up there, but I looked at their list of tenants on their freestanding sign, and they were they appeared to be part of what they were, but that's not the trust. Yeah.
Yeah, because I know that they're renting it, because I know somebody who's gonna advertise there. That's how I found out that that's what they were doing. And we talked about it, John, I know.
Remember, yeah.
Yeah, I think we're down.
Okay. Anybody got anything else?
Minutes?
Well, I know we got, but I mean, before we go to minutes.
Yeah, it came up in the Conservation Commission last night, that in, January that, let's see, Nadeau was satisfied with the question, that they said that they would go to the Tilton Conservation Commission. See Nadeau, this is over the Bittern Lane.
You talking about Bitter Lane?
Yeah, and they did not go to them. And then in the minutes of January 12th, said that they did meet with them, but they never did.
You know, I mean, tractors.
Yeah. So they said they told you and the planning board that they were going to meet with them. And this came up last night at the Conservation Commission, but they never actually did, and they told you that they did. They were never attended, nor did they, I mean, you can check the minutes of both. And then they stated that, that they were in support of turning over and transferring of Bittern Lane, but there's a statement that said that they were not, so that was eliminated.
Who's they?
Who's they?
Conservation Commission,
Thank
yeah.
Oh.
So, so what's in there is completely inaccurate, and that never has been resolved, nor did the Conservation Commission approve of them or even meet with Bittern Lane, the owners that were going to take it over, MB Tracker. So that came up, and they wanted the record to reflect that, and those minutes are incorrect on the planning board when it says.
Well, the minutes on it, perfect, that's what it said.
Well, it says, and this is given to me by the.
The information's inaccurate, but.
The information is in that, well, actually it was. It
I
says.
guess my question is, was it transcribed incorrectly, or was it?
I don't know. It says L. Moynihan also stated that they, MB Tractor, has met with the Conservation Commission and there's nothing outstanding and all's been resolved. But they never did meet.
You know, I'll look
And
at
nothing.
I remember her saying that.
Yeah, and they did send a statement out stating that they weren't happy with it. So,
I thought I read it on
So-
the Conservation Committee, oh, look.
yeah,
Yeah, I thought we had the Conservation Committee minutes in it. For some reason, I think I remember reading. We'll look into it.
yeah, and they they said that they would be meeting with the Conservation Commission before the return to the Planning Board 1/26 of 2021, but they never did meet with them.
And told us they did.
And they told you that they did.
I'll check it out. Well, let's just.
Yeah, so, you know, I think we really have to be certain and cover everything on it because, you know, and communicate with the Conservation
I
Commission.
sent that. Well, again.
Yeah.
Can we just put it aside till I look into it?
What I'd like to do is make sure that we communicate really well with the Conservation Commission, and if somebody did get a response back from them saying that from the Conservation Commission.
Because I usually forward all that stuff to conservation. I have an application.
But we need to verify that they actually did meet and not just.
Well, maybe if we have a case that we know conservation's going to be involved with, one of their board members could attend that night.
Well, they'd have to go, you know, they'd have to go to the Conservation Commission when they're requested, and then they should get a response. So if you don't get a response, then, you know, they actually didn't
And
go.
and I haven't gotten responses. I used to get responses from the Conservation Commission. I don't get them now.
Okay, so they aren't,
So
people aren't
I'm
actually
sending
doing.
it to you.
When they respond, yeah, when they have.
No, because I used to get notes from Chuck all the time.
So I just ask Kathy to CC you on the minutes each month.
Yeah. Well, look, I can't really respond when I, without,
Looking into it.
All right, next is approval of minutes. Did everybody have an opportunity to look at them? Fred, Eric, you get a chance? Oh, that's.
Yeah.
He was on the minutes. Were done,
Yeah, that is- I make a motion to accept the planning board minutes of February 23rd, 2021 as written.
I second that. Any discussion? All in favor?
Sena, yes.
Alden, yes.
Tilton, yes.
I was not in attendance, so
You abstained. Eric was in attendance.
I'll vote for Eric.
Okay. All right, anything else to come before the planning board? We have to elect a new chair. I'm gonna wait till we have everybody's here to do it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Motion to adjourn.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second, Tilton,
Alden, yes.
Sena, yes.
Tilton, yes.
Scanlon, yes.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brett, for coming.
Yeah, of
You
course.
would have been here for,
Good night, Alexa.
you have we gotten new copies of the new zoning stuff yet? Do you have that section of our book?
The solar and all that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I haven't shared that yet. I should.
I think it's on.
Hmm?
Oh,
That's it, I think.
Are we ending recording yet?
yes, we're all, I thought,
Well, we'll find out.
well, I thought she did, but I guess she didn't.
Yeah, once you finish that up,
Did you end? Did you
And the recording,
Yes, I'm sorry.
and recording.
I don't want to say something and then.
Hey.
I'm gonna go on now.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah.
It'll be funny.
Are you gonna be